It's been well over a week since Tatum Paxley became the NXT Women's Champion, shocking the entire WWE Universe by defeating Jacy Jayne at Halloween Havoc. Since then, she's already had one title defense, and that was against Lola Vice, but it ended in a no contest because of Fatal Influence. Now that now with Gold Rush in on the horizon, Tatum Paxley needs a new challenger for the NXT Women's Championship. But the question is, who will step up? Well, obviously, we all know that Jacy Jayne has put herself in the hat to get her rematch for the NXT Women's title. But when you really think about it, this is one of the most stacked rosters for women's wrestling in professional wrestling. I mean, think of think of the talent that they have on NXT. You've got women like Adriana Rizzo, Ariana Grace, Blake Monroe, the current women's North American champion, Brindley Reese, who we hadn't seen much of in quite some time actually. Carly Bright, who's a part of WWE Evolve. You've got Fallon Henley, the former women's North American champion. Izzy Dame, Jacy Jayne, again, as I mentioned, the former NXT Women's Champion. Jada Parker, Jordan Grace, Carmen Petrovich, Kalani Jordan, the current TNA Knockouts champion. Kendall Gray, the current Evolve Women's Champion. Lainey Reed, Lash Legend, Lola Vice, Nikita Lyons, who we've seen on Evolve a few times this year. We've got Sol Ruka, who unfortunately had to relinquish the Women's Speed Championship, but she'll be getting it back relatively soon. Thea Hale, Tyra May Steele, Wendy Chu, who we saw on Evolve last night against Chantel Monroe, Ren Sinclair, and of course Zarya. But you even also as well have women from other brands as well. When you look at Evolve, you got women like Callie Armstrong, women like Chantel Monroe, Mason Holiday, women like Zeta Steele, who we found out has decided to not renew her deal with WWE, unfortunately, which has been unfortunate. Gentala is another one who, who didn't renew her deal with WWE. Excuse me. Sorry guys. I'm trying to clear my throat up. Who else? Hayes Jameson, who again is another one that didn't renew her deal with WWE. PJ Vasa, I think was her name. Panina Toilepa, or P Nasty as she likes to call herself. She's now with WWE Evolve. You've got a lot of talent on Evolve, and then even also in TNA, you got Lei Ying Lee, Zaya Brookside, part of the team known as the Angel Warriors. You have who else is in there? You've got the current Knockouts Tag Team Champions. I think the Inspiration, they're still the champions if I'm not mistaken. You've got a lot of talent across all three brands. That this is indeed the most stacked roster for women's wrestling in professional wrestling, and this proves that the women of NXT, they are truly getting the same opportunities that the men have been receiving this entire time, and it proves that women's wrestling actually matters, which is awesome, absolutely awesome. However, obviously, again, Tatum Paxley needs a new challenger for the title, and there are four that come into mind. And no, I'm not talking about JCJ, because she's already put herself in the hat to challenge for the title in a rematch from Halloween Havoc. But looking at the roster, 100%, first and foremost, 100% has to be Jada Parker. Reason being is very simple. She's been after the NXT Women's Championship this entire calendar year. She had an opportunity at Stand and Deliver earlier this year in Vegas back in April. She failed. She failed to capture the title. She had several other opportunities later on down the line. She could not obtain the championship. But I feel like if there's one person that can take the NXT Women's Championship into 2026, excuse me, 100%, it has to be Jada Parker, because if she doesn't get that opportunity, even you guys know just as well as I, there might not be any more opportunities for her down the road, because opportunities like that, they do not come easy. They are a dime a dozen. Next up, another person that I do believe deserves it would have to be Lash Legend. Simple explanation. She's been at it on her own ever since Jakara Jackson got released from WWE and moved over to TNA using her name Mara Sade. I think, and with Lash Legend going at it on her own, she definitely has all the tools that she needs to be the NXT Women's Champion. But the problem is that she hasn't been able to capture those opportunities, because those opportunities, they just keep passing her by. And I feel like she needs to, instead of just waiting for her opportunity, she simply should just take that opportunity. Next up, crazy as it sounds, has to be Sol Ruka. I get that the NXT Women's North American Championship was her life. That was her baby, if you will. But imagine what happens if Zarya does become the Women's Speed Champion. And imagine what happens if Sol Ruka fails to recapture the Women's North American Championship. What happens there? She can go after the NXT Women's title, and Zaruga would each have a championship around their waist, and Zaruka would probably be back to normal, because Sol Ruka, she's one of the hottest, fastest rising stars right now in NXT, and everybody kept saying, they kept saying, oh, Sol Ruka isn't going to be champion, it's never going to happen. Dude, she became double champion within a span of like 5 months, right off the bat. She became the women's North American champion at Stand and Deliver earlier this year, and not long after that she became Women's Speed Champion, and she instantly became one of the biggest stars in NXT because of the fact that she made it that way. But imagine what happens if she becomes NXT Women's Champion. That right there would speak a lot of volume. But there is one other person I would love to see challenge for the NXT Women's Title, and as crazy as it sounds, I'm probably gonna get some heat for this, but I would have to say Kalani Jordan. The crazy thing about this is that now she's a heel, 100%. She is 100% a heel, and she finally understands what it takes to remain a champion in professional wrestling. And with the fact that she's now the TNA Knockout Champion, she could be just the second woman in NXT to hold both the TNA Knockouts title and the NXT Women's title in a single run, in a single championship run. JC Jane did that earlier this year in the summer, just mere weeks right after Evolution, and she still became she's JC Jane is still now one of the biggest stars in NXT because JCJ made it that way. So what better way for Kalani Jordan to be on that level than by doing the same thing that JC Jane did, which is become NXT Women's Champion and TNA Knockouts Champion. So that being said, between those four, I mean, it's a bit of a toss up of who exactly could take that opportunity. But 100%, I don't think it's I don't think it's Sol Ruka. The reason being is because she's more so after the women's North American title, and she's more so focused on helping Zarya win the women's speed championship and bringing it back to the team. And I think that will definitely cloud her judgment of becoming NXT Women's Champion. Um, I mean that brings it now to three. I mean you got Lash, Kalani, and of course Jada. And I mean, as crazy as it sounds, I don't think it's gonna be Kalani Jordan. And the reason being is because I don't think that she's ready to be the NXT Women's Champion. And I get that this might give me a might and this might give me some heat, but when you really think about it, the moment she drops the TNA Knockouts title to someone from TNA, which could literally be anybody at this point, that's when she'll realize that she needs to do more in order to become NXT Women's Champion. But the fact that she's more so focused on wanting to prove to the world that she is the best, things like that can really cloud one's judgment, especially as a heel. But the crazy thing is, she could potentially have a legendary run as TNA Knockout Champion, which is possible because I believe the longest reign for the TNA Knockouts title, I believe, the longest reign, excuse me, is actually the longest reign, 377 days. That record is held by Taya Valkyrie, who was once known as I believe excuse me. I believe she was named something else after that. Before in NXT. I don't remember, unfortunately. Um, but but she was a part of NXT for a few months before she ended up getting released, and she signed a multi-year deal with WWE, but unfortunately, um, oh my God, it's on to my tongue. Frankie Monet. Frankie Monet was her name in NXT. Finally got it. Finally got it. Frankie Monet was her name in NXT, but anywhere else, Taya Valkyrie, 377 days as TNA Knockouts champion. So that right there speaks a lot of volume of how much pressure is being put on Kalani Jordan to, as TNA Knockouts champion, because if she can surpass that, she can go down in history as one of the all-time greats in TNA history, but she can also become actually one of the youngest all-time greats in TNA history, which is that right there is just history on its own. And I think that's what Kalani Jordan is more focused on, is that. So Lonnie out of the question. So between Jada Parker and Lash Legend, I mean Jada Parker. To be fair, Jada Parker she's already had her chance at the NXT Women's Title. I think now would be the perfect time for Lash Legend to be champion. And I think if there's one person that could take Tatum Paxley to the limit, it would definitely be Lash Legend. But if we're speaking reality, obviously, I'm pretty sure Ava will probably give JC Jane her rematch for the title at Gold Rush. But after that, it has to be Lash Legend, 100%. But with that being said, that'll do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel and you guys want more WWE topic videos in the future, then be sure to subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and as always, make sure you guys are following me on all of my social media. All of my ads will be in the description below, as will the info to my fan mail. It will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.